Good afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted to welcome today Dr. Sonny Virdi. He's a general practitioner in Winnipeg, City Place Dental Group. And we're just a little bit later than scheduled because Dr. Virdi had some extra patients to deal with, doing God's work.
Always on Mondays.
Always doing that. And Sonny, you take the whole area of excellence in restorative dentistry seriously, and we're going to talk about a topic that's central to the thinking of every dentist who restores teeth, and that's getting really good proximal contacts between teeth when we restore them. Bit of a nightmare it can be. What's your experience in that area?
Oh, totally. Well, first of all, thank you, John, for letting me share my passion on this platform. It's an honor. And, you know, when I first started practicing, I would really shy away from doing class 2 composites because I was always worried about open contacts. It happened to me numerous times. And on top of that, when I did place them, I would have patients coming back with food getting stuck between their teeth and complaining. And it was a nightmare. So it set me on this journey of how can I create some efficiencies and predictability with what I'm doing. And I want to share that with you. Good. So like you alluded to earlier, this is daily dentistry. We do this every day. And we need to have some predictability and repeatability in what we do for our own mental health. As dentists, we have a tough job, so we need to stay sane. I promise you this isn't a sales pitch, but class 2 composites, really, you need the right stuff. I think 75% of it is you just need the right stuff.
But that's what we're focusing on today. It's the instruments and the devices that you use for getting good contact.
Exactly. And once you have the right stuff, we can talk about how to use it, but getting that is the first step. So let's focus on that today. There's 3 main variables that I like to consider, which is the matrices, the wedges, and the rings. I'm going to go through what I use in my practice here. So these are the 4 most common matrices that I have in my practice. The brands don't matter. No one pays me to use any of their stuff. But, you know, when you go through the 4 different kinds, on the far left, we have what most people call a kidney bean matrix. Beside that is your standard dead soft sectional matrix. Beside that, we have a firmer band, and these they don't crumble under pressure as easily as the dead soft ones do. And then you have like a clear mylar style matrix on the right. Each one has its own place and it performs best in their own scenarios. And I do want to note to everybody that I'm an owner in private practice, so I'm well aware of the overhead costs, and matrices don't expire. So, you know, feel free to stock up and get all different kinds because you never know when you need the one that you need. These are, all the different kind of wedges that we have in the market now. There's plastic ones, there's wooden ones. There's even this like funny rubber, figure 8 shaped one. They're thinking of all kinds of things here. And we'll talk about how you pair the matrices with different wedges. These are the 4 rings that I use in my practice most often. There's other ones, but I think that most people will find that they have something similar to these in their office. So on the left, we have what we call a saddle matrix, and this is a super old thing that maybe you have lying around somewhere. And I use this for really deep margins. The one beside that is what people call the G ring, and I think most offices have this buried somewhere as well. Beside that, these are the Garrison Rings. These ones are exceptional at creating contacts. These are my daily drivers, if you will. They control the buccal and lingual flash incredibly well. They separate teeth. They are extremely easy to use. And so I really encourage people to try to get one of these newer plastic separation rings. What was I having problems with in the beginning? This is what I was using so often in private practice. When I first started, I was confused as to which matrix I should use, which wedge I would use. It was confusing. So more often than not, I would reach back for my handy Tafelmeyer, give it a little kiss before I put it in there. It's served me well for so long. But the problem with the Tafelmeyer, as I came to learn, is that the interproximal shape is not correct. and you spend way more time finishing and polishing. There's a higher chance for open contacts, and I'm going to show you guys some research studies to back that up. And when I did have a contact and I went to adjust occlusion, I lost my contact again. So I was having a lot of issues, and patients were complaining, and I knew I had to switch to sectional matrices and figure something out. When some people told me, I reached out to my colleagues and asked, "What do you guys do?" They say, "Oh, I'll just burnish the contact. You just take a burnisher and give it a rub, and you get a better contact." But I wanted to show people what happens when you do burnish contacts. And what I did was I did a little demo. I just burnished a band, I put composite, and I cured it, and I took it off. And you can see all the little roughness and edges that it leaves in there, and that's not good for a proximal surface. We can all agree on that. So don't burnish your bands for composite. Why do we need all these different matrices? Like, why can't we just stock one matrix like how we do for Toffelmeyer? You kind of have your number 1 band and your number 2 band with the wings. But with sectional matrices, they come in a kit of like 8 different styles. Well, when we look at teeth, the natural shapes of teeth, the contact points move more cervically as we move more posterior in the teeth. And I love this diagram for that because it shows you the occlusal embrasures and how the marginal ridges are all around it. The contact points are in all different positions, depending on all different teeth. And people's teeth are all different shapes and sizes, so we have to keep that in mind. These are 2 studies that I love because it basically gives credibility to everything that we're talking about right here. The first one went to measure how tight proximal contacts were when we have sectional matrices versus circumferential systems like the Toffelmeyer. And they found that, and the quote from the study is, sectional matrix systems created significantly tighter contacts compared to circumferential systems, which can be explained by the wedging force of the accompanying separation ring. So I love that because once we have things researched, now we're doing evidence-based dentistry, right? The other study talks about what is the marginal ridge fracture resistance of class 2 composites with circumferential systems versus sectional matrices. And they found that sectional matrix, when you use the system like that, the fracture strength when vertically loaded is way higher compared to flat proximal surfaces that we get with, Toffelmeyer and circumferential systems. So, we talked about the sectional matrix just has so many advantages over the circumferential systems, and they come in different heights and colors, and they're totally customizable. Premolars, molars are different sizes. People have spacing. Some people have crowding. Not everybody has a perfect class 1 occlusion. So we need to have different options for those people. And I have different brands in my office. I'm just OCD about this stuff. You don't need different brands. Typically, if you find a system, they'll have the whole range in that one product category, like Paladin to Garrison. They all make great stuff. So if you're looking for simplicity, stick to one system. But if you want to mix it up, you'll start to find things that you like about certain systems and things that you don't like. How are we doing, John? Any questions?
No, it's really good. Well, I'm just thinking about when you apply the wedge and how you do it. So you're anticipating me.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking forward about what happens when the margin is subgingival, or what sort of bands you use for cervical areas. But you can just class 5, so you can park that for now because I think you want to get into the wedges, right?
Yeah, let's talk about these wedges. And with the matrices, what I was going to do tomorrow is I was going to show all that. Where and when do we use certain matrices? And that's why I have so many different kinds of.
Perfect, because you're going to run through some cases in our part 2 tomorrow.
Tomorrow we're going to do cases. So today you get the stuff ready, and tomorrow we're going to
put it in an application. Great stuff. Great stuff.
So, like we talked about, there's so many different wedges on the market. Generally speaking, the plastic ones, they don't separate teeth, but they are fantastic at actually sealing the gingival box in class 2s. My hands are really delicate, John. I don't like to stress my hands out at all. I'm a baby when it comes to working. I don't even do extractions in my office. I hand them all off to my partners. So I like to use as little force as possible when doing things. So I love the plastic ones because they're easy to place and they seal well. The wooden wedges are when you need the separation of teeth. So when you're not using one of those separation rings and you need to physically create that space, the wooden wedges work fantastic. So why don't we always use the wooden ones? The problem is that they require customization for routine use with composites. What they do with the shape, especially these wooden ones, these wizard wedges, they invade the space here at top. So you don't get the proper proximal contour. You need to customize them for each case that you use. They do make more anatomically shaped ones like this orange one here, but still they can have that problem. The plastic ones are much more forgiving and they really adapt to the space. So they don't invade your space and you don't need to customize them.
So your cursor is over that blue one there. It's got all this, looks like a brush almost. What are those ribs for?
So the ribs are, and this is why I love the plastic wedges, is because they're so good at sealing. So what these ribs are for is just the different intricacies of teeth. You know, when we prepare teeth and premolars, sometimes you get this weird furcation in the middle with molars as well. So all these little ribs help to seal the teeth, and that's why I picked this green one. Even if you look on the left-hand side, it has this little bump here, and this is something unique to these wedges, is they have a furcation bump. So when you put the band, you place the wedge, and even the furcation space gets sealed, which you don't have on these wooden ones. So I typically use the plastic one. Those are my daily drivers again, but the wooden ones you still need sometimes.
And I guess you have to use those delicate fingers of yours to make sure that that furcation bump is in the right place, right?
Yes, exactly. Because I mean, the problem for me is I can't extract the tooth, so I have to find a way to fix it.
Fair enough.
But that's, you know, pretty much it in terms of what I use. I hope shed some light into the right materials that you need to get, and then we'll talk about how we need to use them and what scenarios work best for which systems tomorrow.
So Sonny, let's just recap. What are the absolute, just under 60 seconds, 30 seconds, what are the absolute key points that you wanted to convey today?
Having the right stuff is 75% or 80% of the battle here with class 2 composites. So make sure you have lots of different sectional matrices. Make sure you got the right wedges, whether they're plastic or wooden ones, and you know, keep a fresh supply of separation rings. And the new plastic ones are fantastic at achieving a good result. So get the right stuff, and the composites will turn out beautiful.
Dr. Sonny Virdi, thank you very much for talking to us today and going through your armamentarium for getting good proximal contacts. Look forward to seeing you again tomorrow when you're going to show us some cases where you put those delicate fingers of yours to work and use the instruments that you showed us today. So look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Tomorrow's
going to be awesome. We're going to go through some cases and it'll be great.
Brilliant. Take care. See you then, right?
Okay. Thanks, John.